Good morning. This is a video to get us started on the vibrations series. We are going to cover MATLAB and some of the assignments you're going to have. And so first, we're going to assume that you actually have the new version of MATLAB. And the school, it's on the campus, so wherever you decide to go to on campus, you can choose whichever version you want. For the most part, we're looking at, this is 2013. A or B will work. So first, if you look at the new interface, you'll see the ribbons, as they call them, and a lot of the icons that are sitting here. Our biggest goal in this video is to publish. We're going to work on the publish, show you how to do it, show you how to set that up. So let's get to that. First, of course, you have to have something to publish. If you're sitting with an open spreadsheet and you can see I'm at a particular location with a current folder that has nothing in it, and I might be interested in putting some information in here. Let's start with a section. So you notice when the section comes up, it puts two parentheses here. So I'll call it vibrations. I'll call it homework or quiz. How about quiz 01? Now, if I do something silly like just publish it, I've got several choices here. I can edit publishing options. Whoop. First thing it wants me to do is save it, so I better save it. Vibrations, and I'll call it quiz 01. I put a lowercase an underscore here. You notice it saved it in that particular directory. Let me go back in and say edit the publishing options again. What happened, hang on, it showed up in a different window. It told us information about how we're publishing. Of course, it gave you some of this information here. Figures, the type of figures, the figure formats. Basically, that the output file format is HTML. I can change that to PDF, XML, a wide variety of formats. We may be mostly interested in DOC, a document format, but for right now I'm going to leave it as HTML. And then I'm just going to hit the publish. You will notice when it does come up, couple of things. It's on the other screen. I'm going to drag it across. You can see it back here. What you will notice is right here in this box, you will notice that in fact a new directory was created right here, HTML. That's exactly what happens wherever your file is, wherever you're located. It will create a directory called HTML under it. And it created the publish. It created our document. It's very boring. It just says vibration quiz 1 on it, nothing more than that. So let's go in and add more content. First, I might want you to know who I am. So if I'm handing something in, you would definitely want to know who handed it in. So by all means, take credit for your work. Don't take credit for other people's work. Do your own work and at least have a sense of pride over it. So let's look at all the different things we can do here. Let's start with a bulleted list. Here's what you get with a bulleted list, and we'll just hit the publish again. Take a look at it, and you see the two items on the list. You can change those to anything you want, of course. Bats or cats or dogs or So you get those. They're not hyperlinked anywhere. You might want a numbered list. Publish that, and you'll see the difference. It becomes numbered right here. You might want, let's move down, and you might want an image. Okay, if you want an image, you've got to find an image. So let's just find an image real quick. As you notice, during a quick snap here, we ended up with 2 images here. So I'm just going to put in, go to this location, put in CAPDURE dot, and let's try to see if it'll work. It didn't show up. Let's try it again. But let's try the PNG. Publish it. It didn't show up, so let's try to resolve this real quick. What I determined real quick was interesting. A little bit annoying, but what I determined is I had to go take the picture, the image, and move it into the directory that was the HTML right here for it to be able to pick it up. So by doing that, I'm able to pick it up. A little bit annoying, but once you figure out what you're doing, you're okay. Let's go back and publish this. In comes the picture. Now you might be able to do this. Let's see. Yes. So in other words, if I remove this one, take off the capture, and look at just the MATLAB, I pulled this off the web page. The dot dot means go up one directory and then find the file MLPNG right here, publish that, and this is what you see right here. This image is the image we're talking about. So I pulled that off MATLAB's website just for an example. Let's go ahead into the next thing. Pre-formatted text. What does that mean? Well, let's just attempt it and see what we get. It just says pre-formatted text. Let's see now. If in fact you get a little bit different font out of that. I'm not sure I know the exact detail of that, but it's possible to do that. Code, for example. Here's a typical example of code. You run it, and look, it even highlights the code as if it was the editor. So if you wanted to display a piece of code, you go in, and apparently you just put the code in there. Next is my favorite, and it's the LaTeX. Now, this I'm going to actually want you to use quite a bit. There are 2 versions of it. Okay, there's the inline version, and then there's the equation basically that's in display. Let me show you the difference between these 2. And I think what I'm going to do is erase a lot of this, go back up to here just so we can concentrate on each topic individually. Let's look at the inline text. What you notice in the inline text is there's a single $ sign here, where there's 2 $ here. If I hit the publish, you'll notice one is slightly smaller than the other. Now, unfortunately, I have a LaTeX processor on this system, so your results might be a little bit different. But for the most part, LaTeX is a professional typesetting package. If you want to know the history of it or more detail, let me direct you to the Wikipedia site, and for that matter, basically the LaTeX site is latexproject.org. There are other versions of this as well. This tells you the entire setup and the way it works. If you look at this, this is you could think of it as a computer code. There is essentially a LaTeX compiler. Essentially what it does is you basically pick your document type. There you can pick an article, book, many different things. Use some packages, AMS math package, some information. Here's the title that you've decided to pick. Now this is, basically a portion of this ends up in MATLAB, not all of it. But for example, look at this equation right here. Let's just grab it, right click, I'll copy. We'll just see if this will go in here. It might, and it might not. Often you can find some interesting results. I'm a little bit doubtful that it will go in here because of the align. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy down to here, pull out the ampersand, which is basically an alignment character, and do a publish on that. What you see though is this equation, E, is essentially the same as the equation that sat right down here. So you can go through this and look at it in detail. There are things like fractions. All you have to do is go to the internet and type LaTeX. If I just went to Google and typed LaTeX, you'll get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of examples, which a lot of times is difficult because you don't know which one to go to. You might try any one of them. Here we might just try this one. Here's a LaTeX processor. You can go in, type your equation. It says type your equation in this box. Okay, so I don't know what to do at this point, except to say there's the image. You could go in here and say I want an epsilon, or I want a lambda, or this, or any one of these. So you might look in here and say, well, I want an integral. So as you're putting stuff in here, you can see it's dropping this in the integration. So in other words, I might want to take this, exit out, put it in here. You'll notice the equation changes maybe in a minute. Okay, so that's the lower limit. So let's say the lower limit of 0. Take this. So what you see is I'm having omega in front of an integral, epsilon, lambda, and have a dot equals. So I could say d zeta. Eventually, oh, I misspelled it. So there's your zeta show up. You might want to put a parentheses, or you might want a matrix now. I mean, this sounds funny to, it didn't show up. But anyway, play around with some of this. You can get an idea of what you can do with this LaTeX editor. You can create vastly complicated, very repeatable equations. And that's going to be part of the assignments. You can put in here, let's go on and let's look at hyperlinks. You might want to do something like that. If you publish it, you'll see, click that, and it'll take you to the MATLAB website. You might want, let's try this, atu.edu. Hit that. Click it. Go on to the website. You can do bold, italic. Those are fairly simple monospaced. Take a look at what that looks like. You can go right under that, hit an enter and go into italic, and go to bold, publish, and look at each one of those. So in review, this is a short video that just basically lets us know that the publishing methods, if you, and there is one thing that we left off, if you look at the Publish tab, you'll see this information. I need to basically look at both of those, and then we'll call this video good. Let me do this, section with the title, and then just section. If I publish this, what you see is section, title, and description. So you see the overall title here is at the top. So this is the title that governs the entire document. Once you get it, you can actually do a publish in another format. And let's look at that for a second. I'm sorry for the length of this, but here, let's look at this. Let's go ahead and do it in a document file. You could change where you want this to go to. I'm sort of comfortable with this folder by default, but you could change it to something else. And I'm just going to hit publish. It may take a little bit longer to do publish in some of the other formats. HTML is the easiest one to publish as far as the speed goes. You look down in here and you see, if right in here, that there's a W down there. I think if I right click that, it might, yes it did, in the other window, it opened the document itself. And you can see the document. Now it looks a little bit funny, but for that matter, let's take a look. If I were to open another document, it wants to go into the document library. So I'm going to go to the actual directory location, go into the HTML, and then open this one with Word. You see it looks a little bit different here than it does, but you can open an HTML document with Microsoft Word. Then you could turn around and save as, and you could save it as a PDF or anything else for that matter. If you do, you might see something of this nature. You can also go into Publish Options. Let's look at the Publish Options again. This time I'm going to pick a PDF. Go ahead and do the Publish. When the little circle stops, we'll end up with something like this. So I guess really it would probably be just fine to go straight from your MATLAB to a PDF. Unless you decided you wanted to do some editing to it. So I have spent too much time on this video, and we're going to call it quits at this point, and we're going to pick it up from there.